Some of you may be asking, why is this ginger bearded guy asking if the 49ers should sign Jason Verrett? Well, we're going to talk about it all on the other side. We're also going to talk about anything else you guys want to talk about, 49ers related. And we also got some practice updates. The boys are getting healthy and getting ready to face off against the Baker led Bucks. And we're going to get into it all right now, but you guys already know what to do. Drop an SDS in the chat and let's talk about it right now. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. Well. A bit of a surprise today. Wasn't expecting it. We did talk about it yesterday, though. Shout out to Justin. I think he asked the question, even sent a super chat about if the San Francisco 49ers should bring in Jason Verrett. And that's exactly what they did. The San Francisco 49ers brought in Jason Verrett for a workout. And hey, man, obviously we know what happened to Jason Verrett, how his time ended with the San Francisco 49ers last year. Again, the story goes he tears his ACL in the first game of the season against Detroit in 2021. And it takes him all the way until the Chargers game or the week of the Chargers game in 2022 to be ready to go and be active. And it was poetic because it was like, man, Jason Verrett, who had a really hot start to his career with the Chargers, and obviously he ran into injury concerns and issues with the Chargers that kind of derailed his career for a couple years. And then he was able to catch footing with the San Francisco 49ers in 2020 and had a phenomenal season in 2020, and then gets hurt again in 2021. And then it's like, all right, we're going to get Jason Verrett back, and he's going to be back against the team that drafted him, and it's going to be phenomenal. The 49ers had already lost Emmanuel Moseley at that point, and those were their two starting cornerbacks heading into this season. Or I guess the other starting quarterback was Charvarius Ward. Because they couldn't rely on Jason Verrett. Jason was the starter the year prior, but they did lose Emmanuel Moseley. So the thought was, we're getting Jason Verrett back. That's going to be a good get. And the week of the Chargers game, when he was designated to return and was going to play, he tore his Achilles. Tough break, man. Tough break. So the question about should the San Francisco 49ers bring back Jason Verrett, it has nothing to do necessarily with who he is as a player, what we know he's been capable of in the past. It just all comes down to staying healthy. And, obviously he's had a rough go at staying healthy, but he was with the Houston Texans for the last month. He seemingly stayed healthy throughout that portion of his career. That means he's been playing football for the last 4 weeks. That means he's been in football shape. That means he's been practicing. He's been running scout team, which is a good sign. It's a good sign that he is capable of stepping on a football field and playing right away. I've saw some of his off-season workouts and some of the work that he was putting in this off-season. So he's been after it. He's been grinding. He's got that mentality where he's not going to let, these injuries stop him. So obviously that's really the main concern. And pretty much any time I've seen anyone be like, nah, he can't stay healthy, don't bring him in. I totally understand that thought process. I'll tell you where I'm at with it. I think if you can, because as you guys know, Nick Sakel tore his biceps against the Jags. So that means he's been placed on injured reserve, which means there isn't technically an open roster spot on the final 53 right now. I have not seen any moves made or announced. So I think we're still kind of waiting to decide what the San Francisco 49ers are going to do to fill that spot. I imagine we're going to find out before this weekend when the 49ers face off against the Bucks. So what the 49ers could potentially do is they could sign someone from the practice that's currently on the practice squad to the active, and then they could add JV to the practice squad. And if they were to do that, this is kind of my thought process behind it. Jason Verrett is like, if you've heard any of these players from this locker room who've shared a locker room with him from 2020 or 2019 actually through 2021, they love this guy. They love him. Um, he's been a leader. I mean, obviously, you see the shirt that Trent Williams is wearing in this photo. This was before the Chargers game when he went down. The whole roster wore this shirt in honor of Jason Verrett as he was, going down with an injury. And they love this guy. So what it comes down to is, one, can he play? Yeah, you want to figure out if he can play, if he could actually be a member. You're not going to just bring him in to be a locker room guy. That's basically a coach. That's not why you're bringing him in. You're bringing him in for the potential of him actually having to play. So that's what they have to determine. Obviously, coming back from an Achilles, that's rough. Coming back from multiple ACL injuries, that's rough. So he's got a long road ahead of him. But again, if he can play, and if they think potentially he could be a guy that they throw out there, I don't see why you don't do it. They already know who he is. They already love him as a player. They love him as a guy in the locker room. He fits the culture. He fits all of that. You can put him in a room with Charvarius Ward, Diamador Lenore, Ambry Thomas, bunch of young guys, right? He's the old man in the group, 32 years old. Could be a bouncing board, can be someone that they could rely on as, a veteran voice in the room. I don't see why not, especially if it's just a practice squad ad. Angel says would be great vet in the cornerback room and would be immaculate vibes in that locker room and shut down corner when healthy. Exactly. So wasn't expecting to talk about this today. Definitely didn't have Jason Verrett as a main topic to discuss, but the 49ers worked him out today. And so far, it looks like that's the only player they've worked out in the wake of, actually, no, is it? I think I saw something from Aaron Wilson. Hold on, let me double check on that. I think they worked out these guys yesterday that Aaron Wilson had put out, because we ended up signing one of them, but let me double check. Yeah, so the 49ers worked out a bunch of different guys. Brandon Bryant, Manny Jones, Jeremiah Colon, Michael Mene, Jacob Slade, Chris Strebler, Keaton Sutherland, who was on the 49ers, offensive lineman for a while, Spencer Wagee, who they signed, Chris Williams, and Joel Wilson. So they brought in a bunch of guys for a workout. So it'll be interesting to see what the San Francisco 49ers ultimately do if they feel a reunion is in order. But again, I love the guy. I love Jason Verrett. He was a draft crush of mine. Like, we're going way back. He was a draft crush of mine coming out of TCU. I had a lot of belief. He entered the league in 2014. So like, he was one of I didn't really start getting into the draft and trying to evaluate prospects until like around 2011. Kind of 2010, 2011 is when I really started like having an interest in breaking down and evaluating draft prospects. So he was one of my early guys, my guys. Love Jason Verrett from the jump. Him and Keenan were like a big reason why I really liked the Chargers, because I loved Keenan Allen coming out of the draft. Love Jason Verrett. They go to the Chargers. So anyways, if he can play, like if they can actually envision a world where he can actually go out on the field and participate, my question would be, why not? Like, why wouldn't you want to bring him in? He's going to come in for the veteran minimum. He's going to the practice squad. If it doesn't work out, you can let him go and move on. So I would be interested, and I think the vibes would be immaculate. Just like Angel says, it would be fantastic. I think it would. And who knows? Who knows if you actually got to put him in and play, and he actually performs well. That would be a pretty cool story. And I mean, I remember a time when the San Francisco 49ers had to put out Dre Kirkpatrick, who they signed off the streets. That was quite disastrous. I can't imagine Jason Verrett, if capable of playing, could be worse than Dre Kirkpatrick from that. What was that season? I think that was that 21? Yeah, it was that 21 season when JV went down and they had to go into straight scramble mode and brought in Dre Kirkpatrick and who else was it? What's his name? I don't know how I'm blanking on his name. I have it on like the tip of my tongue. Because I love him so much. He's actually in the league still. He's playing with the Bills. Not Dante Johnson. They did work out Dante Johnson, though, like a week or two ago. Josh Norman. There we go. One of my favorite 49er players of all time, Josh Norman. But they did work out Dante Johnson not that long ago. So it'd be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if the 49ers actually do it. Again, I don't think it's any risk at all. So bring him in, put him on the practice squad. Why not? Be a good story. So we'll see. We'll see what the 49ers ultimately do. But in other news, the San Francisco 49ers getting healthy, which is good. Trent Williams returned to practice today, which is fantastic news because, boy, we need to get him healthy and we need to get him right. Actually, hold on. Before we go to Trent, let's wrap up the Jason Verrett segment, shall we? Since you guys are here in the chat, I want to ask you guys, I want to ask you guys, if you can add Jason Verrett to the practice squad, and again, you're not even releasing anyone from the practice squad because you signed someone from your practice squad to the active to replace Zakel, which opens up the practice squad spot. So it's not even like you're having to get rid of anyone. You just have an open spot, and you bring in Jason Verrett into a cornerback room that is a bunch of young corners. Would you do it? Would you do it? Let me know in the chat. I want to see yes, no, all of the above. Maybe, potentially, possibly. So far, I see yes, yes, sign him. It wouldn't make sense not to. I agree with like this process. Like just the fact alone that you're bringing a veteran that is that is already loved by this locker room, already has roots in this locker room, is respected by the staff and the leaders in this locker room. And you can just add his presence. And again, if he can play, that's part of it. That's part of it. He's got to be able to play as well. Um, but as long as he can go out here, he can move, he can participate, he can be a scout team guy, and eventually maybe you call him up. Why not? Could be a great voice in that room uh, with a bunch of young corners. So far, most people are saying, yeah. Again, to me, it feels like a no brainer. Again, you just have to confirm that he can actually participate in practice, run scout team, and do all that. And if he can continue to prove he can do that and be able to play, then that would be phenomenal. And it would be a good story. One, maybe, that's fine. You don't have to agree. If you're like, yeah, he's just unfortunately, you know, kind of like this. Work him out, but if D'Amico let him go, he might be past his prime. Well, we know he's past his prime. He's 32 years old. Um, he's definitely past his prime, but we're not signing him for him to be in his prime. Basically, can he be a guy that maybe can play in spot duty? Maybe call him up to the active, but basically, can he be a leader in his room? And can he contribute on scout team? Can he give guys like Brandon Ayuk good work? Can he give guys like Debo Samuel good work? And then if he's giving those guys good work through Wednesday through Friday, then why wouldn't you maybe throw him up on the active and maybe give him some opportunities here or there? Throw him in on special teams. Just get the guy back out on the field. It's been a long time. So we'll see. And that's a great point. Remember the effect Sherm had on our DBs. Yeah, Sherman was huge for that room. Absolutely huge. But again, can he play? We'll find out. We'll see. The 49ers will tell us. If they don't sign him, that's probably a strong indication that they just don't feel like, he's at where he needs to be. And the 49ers will do something else. So we'll see. Need to find out why they released him. Well, I could probably guarantee you that John Lynch put in a call to D'Amico, said, "Hey, D'Amico, what's good with Jason? Why'd you guys release him?" It could really just come down to like, man, well, we didn't need him. We had enough depth. There was no path forward for him to go from our practice squad to potentially being on the active. So we let him go. Still could play, but just we don't. I mean, they have a lot of, from my understanding, they have some pretty young corners with some upside on that Texans defense. So They might just not need him. They kept him for a month, though, on the practice squad, at least. And again, that's part of the reason. It's like, well, he's at least been practicing for a month. He's at least been in a system for a month. So we're not like signing him off the streets. I feel like that would be a little bit more problematic with the actual, like, should we do this? Like, if he was just working out on his own and just kind of waiting for the phone to ring, I feel like that's a different scenario than the fact that he's actually been in an NFL building. He's been practicing, he's been running scout team most likely. He's been out there. So that makes me feel a little bit more confident in signing him to the practice squad potentially. But we'll see. We'll see. So what does it say about Womack and Daryl Luter? So right now, I just think it's kind of a log jam situation for the 49ers with their defense. Because if they activate Samuel Womack and Daryl Luter Jr., that's two players that the 49ers have to cut off their active unless they use, which I would assume, like you would take I would assume what they would do is take Nick Sakel's 53-man roster spot and then take Womack and activate Womack to the active. So he basically just slides right into Nick Sakel's spot. So you're not actually releasing anyone, like, because you have the spot that's opened up by the unfortunate injury to Nick Sakel. So then that helps you with Womack, and Womack we know is an immediate special teams contributor. Samuel Womack, I feel like his rookie season was one of our best special teams players. So making a spot for Womack makes sense to me. He didn't have the greatest preseason and training camp this year, but he still showed that he was a pretty quality special teams player. So definitely would assume that's the move, but we don't know. We don't know what the 49ers are going to do. They're still rostering 4 tight ends. Something to think about. We haven't seen Braden Willis at all this year. We've seen a lot of Kittle, obviously. We've seen a lot of Charlie Warner, and we've seen Ross Dwelly sprinkled in. But then you got Braden Willis, who I think the 49ers like, but he's not playing this year. He's not even active. He's not active. I'm not sure he's been active for a game this year. So could you make room there? Could you make room by letting go of Matt Pryor if you feel comfortable with Jalen Moore playing right tackle? Maybe. Potentially. From a cornerback standpoint, they basically have Shamar Jean-Charles that they just signed to the active, I think last week, where they could potentially just re-release him, but he's a young player that maybe they like. So they don't have a bunch of options for creating space on the active. So that's part of the issue with the whole Daryl Luter and Samuel Womack, Robert Beal thing is who we have one roster spot open. Who does that go to? And then what do you do with the other guys? So I don't know. Cut candidates, Shamar Jean-Charles, Kalia Davis, Braden Willis, which I know they don't want to do any of that. Brandon Allen, they're not going to do that. So it's going to be interesting. Danny Gray's been chilling on IR all year. Danny Gray's on IR. They've now added Drake Jackson to IR. You got Beal on IR. Luter, I think he's on like a PUP list. I'm not sure he's officially. I don't think he's on IR. I think he's on some kind of like PUP list or something like that. Physically unable to perform. And then Womack's on IR. So, going to be interesting to see what they ultimately do in that scenario. But they've been pretty creative with some of their roster moves, kind of keeping these guys intact. So it'll be interesting to see what they do at the end of the day. But we did get Trent Williams back, which is good news. I was kind of hesitant with, I understand him not practicing on Wednesdays is pretty normal. It's really not. That's a total normal veteran type schedule, especially for a guy like Trent Williams. Not surprised at all that he did not practice on Wednesday, but because he was coming off the injury, um, and he definitely didn't look 100% against the Jags. It was just like, is it really a rest day? Are they concerned about? I know they said he didn't suffer any setbacks, but it was just like, oh, I just wanna get Trent Williams back in practice on Thursday, and I'll feel much better about it. Trent Williams returned. I'm not sure if he was what his designation was for participation. I don't know if it was limited. I don't know if it was full. I would assume limited. I'm looking around right now to see if anything popped up. But the fact of the matter is, he returned to practice, which is great. Makes me feel better. I feel a sigh of relief that Trent Williams has returned to practice, and definitely something where I'm like, okay, Trent's good. Trent's in line to play. He's definitely in line to play and start against the Bucks. So it's going to be interesting to see what Colton McKivitz is looking and feeling like. He's practiced 2 days in a row. So Colton McKivitz returned to practice for the second day in a row. It was reported that he rolled his ankle in that game against the Jags. I'm really curious to know when he rolled his ankle, because both Trent Williams and Colton McKivitz really struggled with anchoring and pass protection. And if you could think about it, these are already big guys having to hold up their weight on these ankles. And when you're anchoring, you're really just digging your feet into the ground and really trying to stop another 285-pound man who's running full speed at you, trying to drive you back. Like, that's a really hard thing to do. First of all, second of all, if your ankles aren't right, that's very hard as well. So I'm just interested. I wonder when McKivitz got, the ankle injury, and if that did impact his play at all. Because I think McKivitz has done a pretty decent job since the Pittsburgh game, and then it just kind of fell apart on him against the Jags. He just, was getting blown off the ball pretty consistently, which we hadn't really seen. He kind of got it back on track after playing against JJ Watt. So did that ankle have anything to do with that? It'll be interesting to see, but the key piece of information is that both Trent Williams and Colton McKivitz are trending towards being able to play, which I'll take it. I'll take our guys being healthy up front. Need it. Need those guys to be ready to go, especially to continue to get the run game up and running efficiently and effectively. So that's the hope. That really, really is the hope moving forward, that those guys will be able to be back and be ready to go. But I'm excited. I think this game has a lot of different and interesting parallels against the Bucks. Obviously, we know Nick Bosa loves playing against Baker Mayfield. Um, yeah, I think he tried to put a little extinguisher on that Baker Mayfield flame when he spoke to media saying like, "Oh, it's not a big deal anymore," or whatever. Nah, I think it's still a big deal. I just don't think he wanted to make headlines and you know, bulletin board material, anything like that. So I think he took the high road of kind of deflecting that particular situation. But I think Bosa's ready to go. I think Bosa's ready to plant the flag on Baker Mayfield again. Obviously, this particular game, it happened with the Browns, and obviously Baker's on a new team. Uh, I can't show the stats. This is or I can't show the plays. The YouTube will ban me for life. But this is what Bosa said after that particular game. Sherman said he pissed us off. We put a foot in his ass. End of story. This is this is rookie Nick Bosa after this game.
He had it coming, but he didn't say one word back. So,
well, what'd you say? Just an example.
I was just screaming his name like, Baker, Baker, you good? Come on, pick it up. We want a challenge.
So this was throughout the game, not just on.
Yeah, and he was just looking at me like.
Can you tell when a quarterback is starting to rush things a little more and get out of rhythm? And did you see some of that tonight?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how anybody thought he would be able to see over Eric and Buck, but he was panicking. He was double clutching, rolling back and forth. We had him rattled all game. I was kind of trying.
That's literally like the only time I think Bosa's ever openly talked like basically trash on someone. That was it. It was against Baker, and it was because of the whole college situation where Baker planted the flag in the middle of the field at Ohio State when Baker was at Oklahoma. And I've like literally even beyond this, like that was the only time that Nick has really just openly like talked trash about someone because he genuinely does not like Baker Mayfield. But could you imagine a man as large as Nick Bosa is, but the voice, the like quiet, like calm, almost like childlike sound of Baker, Baker, and you just look over and it's freaking Nick Bosa, just veins popping out of every muscle in his arm, out of his neck, and Baker, Baker, knowing that he wants to rip your head off. And yeah, I would assume Baker was rattled that game. Absolutely. That was when our defensive line was cooking too. That's when it was Nick. That's when it was Bosa. Bosa, Eric, Defoe, and D Ford. Man, that would be crazy. It'd be kind of scary. It's got like an ominous sound to it. Like imagine you're trying to keep yourself together as like this wall of man meat is trying to destroy you. And like you're like you come up to the line, you're trying to read the defense.
I'm trying to talk. I don't usually talk.
And you hear this guy just quietly under his breath
just screaming his name like, Baker, Baker, you good? Come on, pick it up. We want a challenge.
And you just look over and it's Nick Bosa with like a 6-pack on his biceps, just ready to beat you. Oh, I said what I said. You heard me. But I'm looking forward to this game. I think Bosa is going to be hyped. One of the things, I don't know if you guys saw the Title League podcast, Eric Armstead's podcast, Third and Long, I believe it's called. Nick Bosa joined him, and Nick talked about Chase Young and talked about what Chase is going to bring to this defensive line that is a bit of a, I think, going to play a big role and impact for the D-line group, because he said that Chase brings this energy. He brings that kind of nastiness. Like, he's not afraid to talk. He's not afraid to talk, to chirp, be loud, be energetic, and all those different types of things. Whereas when you look at the rest of the D line, they're actually all really quiet dudes, which typically isn't what happens. So he's basically saying Chase Young brings like this little bit of an edge to our group. Like, you know what I mean? And from an energy perspective. And I think that's going to be huge. We've got the practice report just now. Trent Williams' ankle is a full participant. Flan, ankle limited. Colton McKibbitz, ankle knee limited. And as we know, no practice for Nick Zakel or Aaron Banks. So I would say that's good news. So 49ers are getting healthy. We need it. 49ers heading into week 11, pretty healthy. I think that's a good sign for the 49ers right now. Healthy physically, healthy mentally. All of the above. So I'm really looking forward to this game against the Bucks. The Bucks have been playing pretty well. They're a scrappy team, and if you don't show up and you play your best game, the Bucks are definitely a team that can beat you. You're not just going to sleepwalk past the Bucks. They have some talented players, so we'll see. This quote from, I guess, Kyle Shanahan is on with Tolbert and Copes on KNBR right now. And Kyle Shanahan said basically on why Brock Purdy's risk-taking is a positive. Kyle Shanahan said, I want a guy who gives us a chance to win the game, not a guy who just hopes everyone else wins it for them. Ooh, I like it. We call him BCB for a reason. We call him BCB for a reason. Why is Jordan Mason in the doghouse? Because Christian McCaffrey exists. I think that's really what it comes down to. Jimmy G shade? Yeah, I would say so. Jimmy G shade a little bit. He's not wrong, though. He is not wrong. Brock is constantly trying to win the game. That's definitely that's definitely some Jimmy G shade for sure. But I like it. Kyle's been kind of spicy a little bit. He had that little back and forth with the reporter. Oh, I understand. You don't understand. I like when Kyle gets spicy. I like spicy Kyle. Some people don't view it as spicy, but I think there's an understanding that coaches are like politicians when they're at the podium. So anytime a coach breaks like that politician mold and kind of fire back, like they're like, oh, that's not spicy. I'm like, well, you have to think of it from the perspective of coaches are like politicians and their whole job is to not say too much, just kind of give you acceptable answers and move on with their day. So that's why I like Kyle. He kind of can break that a little bit. Trent Williams said that his ankle's already a lot better, which is good news. So his ankle continues to improve. That's a good sign. Boys are getting healthy. Boys are getting healthy. It's what we like. Do I like the Wagee pickup? Wagee? Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. He's an interior defensive lineman now. He's not a defensive end. I don't mind it. Wasn't like he was tearing it up. As an undrafted free agent, but he's definitely he's got some juice to him. I don't mind it. We'll see if he plays, if he gets in there. Hey, Justin. Justin says got the baby and the 5-year-old. Oh, I know how that goes. But yeah, you asked the question yesterday. Should the 49ers get JV? I mean, as long as he can play, why not? Why not? So we'll see. We'll see. But any other questions, comments, any topics you guys want to talk about before we get out of here for the day? What about that Jack Jones guy from New England? I don't know enough about him or his situation, to be honest. It sounds like it's very toxic, though. And if there's anything that I've learned about the 49ers and their roster kind of building process, and they put a huge emphasis into the type of person you are, based on my perception without really doing any deep digging, he got picked up off waivers. Well, that would make that very difficult. But Yeah, I just didn't. Oh yeah, he went to the Raiders. I made the Raider joke. He's perfect fit for the Raiders. Perfect fit for the Raiders. I don't know if he was a fit for us, but perfect fit for the Raiders. The 49ers didn't put in a claim for him, so that tells you right there. They didn't put in a claim. I remember now. They didn't put in a claim for him. It was the Raiders and one other team that I think put in a claim for him. So, hey, what's good, Cheyenne? Checking in was good. Who's playing tonight? I haven't even looked at the matchup. Who's playing tonight? Is it Bengals? Raven. Ooh. We got a good matchup. Finally, this will make up for last week's Thursday Night Football. What wasn't it last week? Bears, Panthers, right? This week we actually have a good matchup: Ravens versus Bengals. I'm excited to watch the Ravens. So this will be my first time watching them this year. Outside of highlights and stuff like that. So I'm excited to watch the Ravens, and again against a team that beat us. So little scouting to get us ready for our Week 16 Christmas Day matchup against the Ravens. So we shall see. We shall see what we get. Did I see Fox is refusing to put the Eagle Niner game on prime time? Yeah, I saw Mayako put that out. I don't know if they're refusing to. I just saw that they weren't going to flex it to prime time. I don't know what game is in prime time, but maybe they like that window for some reason. I don't know. Should have been prime time. But right in the middle of the day, I don't mind it. That way I don't have to wait all night. And it's not super early. So I don't mind it. Packers Chiefs. Ew. That's a gross matchup. But it's Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. So that tells you right there. That tells you right there why they're not flexing that. Because if they flex that, then they wouldn't get T Swift time on prime time. And that's funny. That's Taylor Swift in prime time. That's what that is. It's not even about football. It's about Taylor Swift. That's a Taylor Swift move. That's how you know you got real influence. Taylor Swift, crazy. Crazy. But let's enjoy Thursday night football and Fridays just right around the corner tomorrow. And then we'll do Prediction Friday per usual. And I think last week on Prediction Friday, I do think I picked the defensive line to be my player of the game. I do believe that. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and check the receipts. But when we did defensive player of the game, I think I did say the defensive line as a unit. And coincidentally enough, I gave the MVP, or I gave the defensive player of the game afterwards to the D line as well. Oh, should you start Keaton, Mitchell, or Boyd over McLaurin? That's a hard one because Keaton should be getting more snaps, and he is electric. I have him going in a couple leagues. But also, Sam Howell's the leading passer in yardage, so he's slinging it. And you know that McLaurin is good for 2 touchdowns at any given moment. So that's a hard one. I would have a struggle with that one. I wouldn't play Boyd, even though he has potential to have a big game with T. Higgins out. We did see the drop touchdown that he had last week. That's a hard one, though. That really is a hard decision. I don't want to be responsible for the decision, so that's why I'm not picking a hard stance. I don't want to be responsible for telling you to start one of them and then getting burned. If that was my lineup, I would probably rock with McLaurin. Just because you probably drafted him higher, and also too, like I said, he's going to get his targets, and he could easily turn up 2 touchdown performance at any given moment. So that's the hard part, and it's like with Mitchell, you don't know yet. He's such an unknown. Like, is he going to fall back to earth? Is he going to get bottled up? Who knows? Bengals have pretty good defense. So we'll see. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Like we said, Prediction Friday. Not crazy episode today or anything like that. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Prediction Friday. Get your score predictions ready. Offensive player, defensive players of the game. All that good stuff ready to go. Appreciate you guys as always. I will see y'all tomorrow. Peace out. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see you.